Hey, what's new and exciting? It's Kevin O'Shaughnessy here, and in today's lesson, I'm going to give you 4 tips to help take your playing from Schmo to Pro. If you're new to the channel, welcome. As I said, my name is Kevin O'Shaughnessy. I've been a professional musician for about 20 years, music teacher for about 13, and I'm here to help enthusiastic guitar players such as yourself get more out of the instrument a little faster and with a bit more fun. So if that sounds interesting to you, please go ahead and subscribe and adjust your notifications to taste. So if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume 2 things. Number 1, you're a guitar player, and number 2, you want to get better at what you're doing. So these are just my 4 tips that I think every guitar player, whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, should know in order to bring their playing up to the next level. First thing you got to know how to do: clean and store your guitar. I know that probably sounds a little weird, right? It has nothing to do with playing. But I'll tell you, after seeing so many grimy, dirty, filthy guitars, that really the only thing that the owner would have needed to do to save the guitar from that abuse would be to just put it in its case at the end of the night. It's cruel and unusual punishment what some people do to their guitars just through neglect. It usually doesn't take much to keep a guitar clean and stored in its case, or even humidified if you've got an acoustic guitar that you're learning on. But really take the time to learn how to care for your instrument. You can find out from the shop that sold it to you. If there is a guitar luthier in your area, you can ask them, and obviously you can go to the manufacturer's website. Chances are awesome they're going to have a page on there about how to care for your guitar and how to store it when you're not using it. You really should follow those instructions, because a well-maintained guitar, even if it's an inexpensive student model, is going to do you a lot better than a guitar that's been sitting around collecting dust for all its life. The second thing you've got to be able to do is set up your guitar. Change the strings, make a neck adjustment when you need to, set the action, set the intonation, be able to tighten the screws and the nuts and diagnose problems. I'm not saying you got to be able to take the whole guitar apart, put it back together, and all that kind of stuff, and solder wires if you've got an electric guitar. You don't necessarily have to go that far. If it's extensive work like that, by all means take it to a shop. But a basic setup really is not difficult to learn. It's a little trial and error, and it's going to take you a while the first few times you do it. But you got to work really, really hard to badly screw up a guitar to the point where it's unplayable while you're learning how to set it up. It's not a big deal, and there are plenty of resources online, and you might even be able to talk to a local luthier to find out how to do it right for the guitar that you've got. Much like cleaning and storing the guitar, a guitar that is well set up is going to play better for you. And if you are the one who is setting it up, you're going to know instantly when that setup is not right, and you'll be able to pull out just the tool you need in order to fix it and get back to playing the guitar the way you want to. Now, if you're like most guitar students that I've had over the years, this one's going to make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Yes, I recommend that you learn some music theory. Now, before you turn off the video, hear me out. Music theory sounds like it's a whole bunch of rules and it's really restrictive and nobody wants to learn it, but nothing could be further from the truth. Knowing music theory basically just helps us answer the question, why is this music cool? That's it. That's all it does. What it does is people much smarter than me over the course of the centuries has looked at the music that has come before them, and they say, wow, what did this composer do? What did this songwriter do? And they cataloged all of it, and they came up with these tendencies about how people used music. If you want to learn how to write music like Mozart, well, this is how he did it. These are the conventions that he used. If you want to do Beethoven, we got that too. If you want to do Jimi Hendrix, we've got that. People have studied this stuff and they've come up with the basic tendencies. And they're often thought of as rules, but all of those rules are fluid. They change with whatever music comes along. Now, if you have some sort of a background into the fundamentals of this music theory, and believe it or not, I'm going to give you the list of what those fundamentals are, then all you got to do is take this new music that you're hearing, listen to what they're doing, and compare it to the stuff that you already know from what people have done in the past, and there it is. That's what makes this cool. How does this new music break the rules that the other music has set, that previous music has set? And that's what music theory is. Now, if you sit tight, I'm going to give you a very quick list. There's only 5 little things that you need to learn about, and they're not very difficult, but you need to learn them if you want to take your playing to the next level. The first one is note organization. Okay, we're talking letter names for notes, staffs, clefs, accidentals like sharps, flats, and naturals. Okay, it sounds like it might be a lot, and it sounds like it might be Chinese, but remember, this is a system of documenting music that the creators of this system, more than 1,000 years ago, want people to be able to understand. Okay, so if you go into it with that belief that it's meant to be easy to understand, once you learn the logic of it, it really is a piece of cake. The next one is rhythm patterns. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that for probably 99% of the music that you want to learn how to play, you're going to need 12 rhythm patterns. And that's it. And they're all very simple and they're all very straightforward. And there are only 2 things that change the rhythm patterns. Occasionally you can take a note out of a pattern. It's what we call a rest. Or we change the relationship of that pattern to the beat. So for example, 4 quarter notes is a pattern of 4 notes of equal duration, and they fit in the space of 4 beats. Now, if we take that and we turn those into 4/8 notes, well, that's still 4 notes of equal duration, only this time they're played in the span of 2 beats. And if we make them 16th notes, now it's 4 notes of equal duration in the span of 1 beat. So you see how it's not really that different. That one pattern of 4 notes of equal duration can be changed just by changing its relationship to the beat. Next thing you got to know is intervals. An interval is a distance between 2 notes. It's how we talk about how far away from the first note is the second note. Is it a second away? Is it a fourth away? These are all degrees that we talk about, so we can determine how far away one note is from another. It's going to help us build scales, it's going to help us build chords, and it's a fundamental building block of melody and harmony. Which leads us into the 4th one, which is chords and scales. Now, I tend to lump these together, but you could absolutely study them separately. In my mind, though, they're very much related, so I like to think of them together. If you take the first 5 notes of a scale, dum 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 dum, get rid of the second one and the 4th one, dum dum dum, you have the 3 notes of a chord. Play them all at the same time, and there you go. So it's all the same kind of building blocks, so I tend to lump them together, but of course you could absolutely study them separately, and generally speaking, that's often the way it's taught. The last bit of music theory that I think you ought to know is song forms. What makes an AABA form different than a verse-chorus form? And what makes a verse-chorus form different than the blues? If you can get a grasp of the basic song forms, then it's so much easier to learn any kind of song. If you know that a blues pattern, for example, is basically the same progression for almost every blues song, that's a bit of an exaggeration, by the way, but I think you get the point, then it makes it so much easier to know, oh, hey, we're playing the blues. That's great. And you have an idea of what is coming in the song before you even start playing it. We've covered cleaning and storing the guitar, we've covered setting up the guitar, and we've covered some music theory. And if that one didn't give you an eye twitch, then this one probably will. Number 4 is learning how to read a chord chart. Okay, now, once again, before you go running off screaming, a chord chart is kind of what it sounds like. It is a chart that tells you when to play which chord. It's written on music paper, but the chord names themselves are just given letter names, right? You'd see an A chord and a D chord and an E chord, and just knowing when to play those chords. Knowing how to read a chart can give you an idea of how the song is supposed to go before you even start playing it. I would also go so far as to say that being able to write a chord chart is also a very valuable skill, but that's when you're starting to get onto a little bit more of the professional level. I'm going to give you a little bonus tip here, and this is just a bit of a recommendation, which is, well, at least after all this coronavirus stuff has blown over, go out and play with other musicians, okay? It's really, really important to take everything that you've been learning here and sort of put it to the test. I mean, not for the sake of competition necessarily, but you want to see how well you're actually doing it, because this is why people learn music in the first place, is to play it either with people or for people. And to work with another musician, especially somebody who's learning like yourself, you start to see what parts you've learned really well and what needs a little bit more work. Okay? So as you're working with another player, you guys might have a really good, easy time playing along with the same beat, but you might have different interpretations about what the rhythm patterns are supposed to be. You'll learn from them, they'll learn from you, and eventually you'll both get better. So it's highly recommended that as soon as you can get a chance, start working with other players. So there you go, my 4 tips to take your guitar playing from Schmo to Pro, plus a bonus tip for you. I hope you found that useful. If you did, let me know by hitting that like button. And if there's any comments, if there's anything else that you think would benefit the community to help them take their playing to the next level, leave it in the comments below. Or if you have any questions for me, I do my best to answer them as quickly as I can. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Connect with me in the comments below. And I am Kevin O'Shaughnessy. I'll see you in the next video. Good luck practicing.